Good morning. This is the Daily Wrestling News for February 11th, 2021. We are powered by the Eastern Observer. My name is Ryan Joy, and I'm coming to you live from Minutes to Belltime Studios on the beautiful Treasure Coast of the Sunshine State. And I'm joined today by a man in a dark room, Mr. John Smith. How are you today, John?
I'll brighten it up for you. I went full screen for a second. My bad.
No worries. No worries. All right, so John, got a loaded show today. We got NXT, we've got Dynamite, we've got a bunch of big, huge pile of news to pile through. So it's okay with you. I'm just going to ring that bell. We'll get on our way.
Yeah, let's go for it.
We start with the ridiculously random non-wrestling audience needs to know you better question of the day, which is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Pick'em, a place where you can join or host a Pick'em League to test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling. You can create an account today and join a league now at ProWrestlingPick'em.com so you can play against your friends or play against the universe. We have two big shows in the world of Pick'em wrestling this weekend with No Surrender and TakeOver. So definitely get over there and check that out. John, your ridiculously random question on this special Valentine's Day edition of the show, I suppose. It's our last show before Valentine's Day, but how would you finish this sentence? Roses are red, violets are blue.
Done a lot of thinking. Roses are red, violets are blue. I got nothing. How about you?
How about, here's mine. Roses are red, violets are blue, onions stink, and so do you.
Okay. That's not very romantic.
No, I recommend not using that one. Do not use that one.
I think we could say that one to Nia Jax.
Oh, well, we have Nia Jax in the news once again today, so we will get there, sure enough. All right, so John, NXT and Dynamite last night, it's your traditional question. Which one did you think had the better show?
AEW definitely had the better main event, but I think NXT put together the better show. It was a great go-home show for their Vengeance Day pay-per-view coming up this Sunday.
Yeah, it was a good show. We'll start with that one. So let me run through some of the non-takeover relevant stuff here first. Xia Li defeats Cora Jade. 45 seconds. Xia Li is good at the two-move match these days. Of course, after that match was interesting. Kaden Carter and Kacy Catanzaro came to the ring to try to snap Xia Li out of her trance with this woman who's training her. So, and they paid for it.
It's interesting to have them get involved with her. I'd like to see a nice 2-on-1 handicap where Xia Li ends up beating them up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like if that's the case, it seems like the run that we were having with Kacy and Kaden might come to a screeching halt. So. But they've done a lot of character work on Xia, so they need to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least it gives Kacy and Kaden some exposure still, instead of just them being, the inaction against somebody big,
Yeah, exactly. Cameron Grimes, he has returned, and he took himself and GameStop to the moon.
To the moon, baby.
Cameron Grimes, in his time off, he started playing video games. He went to his local video game store and decided, I need to support this place, bought a bunch of stock, and boom, now he is throwing money around. I think you just want to be in the vicinity of Cameron Grimes, and that's all you need to do for a job these days.
Yeah, and he also parlayed that money into Dogcoin.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's pronounced Dogecoin. It could be pronounced Dogcoin for all I know, but it's a real thing apparently.
There you have it. And also, Scarlett showed up in Mr. Regal's office, and she said that it was time and that Karrion Kross wanted Santos Escobar next week. Regal didn't even think about it. He just handed out the match. So that's going to be next week on television, not a takeover match. John, did you think we were going to get that for takeover?
You just cut out there. I think it's my computer, though, that cut out. Hold on.
Well, I hope
that's annoying.
Do.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Okay, John can't hear me, so
You're good.
oh,
You're
now he
good.
can. Okay,
All of a
great.
sudden,
You know,
brand new
all
computer. Brand
let's
new
see. We have a
computer. Good
comment
job.
coming in, and it's Al Carl with Cameron Grimes is the gift that keeps on giving to the moon. We were talking about Scarlett and Karrion Cross. Did you
Yes.
think we were going to get that match on Takeover?
I did, but then I guess considering they already had 5 matches and they don't typically go over that, it makes sense for them to put this on next week. Gives us something to really look forward to. I still would have liked to see them go 15 minutes at a pay-per-view. Not to say they won't go 15 minutes on NXT though.
Yeah, actually, when I was looking at the timings for the matches last night, the opening contest was 12 minutes. Then you had that Xia Li 45-second match, a 15-minute women's tag, 11 minutes Kushida and Theory, 12 minutes for Grizzled Young Veterans versus Thatcher and Ciampa. So they have done a pretty good job of giving us, a long match, not these 2-3 minute squashes that you sometimes see on Raw. So hopefully that's a good sign. But Santos Escobar was still feeling pretty confident, and he's like, the gift of time gives me time to, get an advantage. So he sends Wild and Mendoza after Cross, and we don't see that little battle happen, but we do see their bodies laying around, and Cross comes on the screen and just basically says, "TikTok, time's up. Next week, I'm gonna do to you what I did to them." So. I think that's how it's going to go too. I hope it doesn't go quite so quickly, but I don't know. I could see it happening both ways. I would like to see the long match where Santos Escobar really shines before getting destroyed by Cross, but I could also see it being a real quick match, and that would be a disappointment.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Legado just get involved to the point where it makes the match a long match. Like they give Santos the advantages he needs during the match.
Right. So, and then the other thing that we had going into NXT last night, now this stuff is more related to this weekend's TakeOver show. Austin Theory went to Twitter yesterday and he said Johnny Gargano is out of TakeOver. He is not going to be able to compete. Mr. Regal let us know that Gargano was in fact cleared a few days prior, but the injuries were so severe. His broken arm put him in a wheelchair. It was bad news for Johnny Gargano to start the show. Eventually, we found out, of course, that it was a ruse. He was feigning injury, and whatever. Kushida versus Austin Theory. That match went 11 minutes, and it ended in a DQ. So,
Johnny's doing his best work right now. It was more so all about that promo than the match itself, but. Yeah. I mean, the Theory and Kushida put together a good match. I'm just looking forward to Sunday.
And then the other thing is we have another program that's in there too that is not TakeOver relevant, but it is certainly maybe next week or sort of the next direction, and that's with Dexter Lumis. Gargano interfered in the match, and that's what caused the ending. But Dexter Lumis pulled Austin Theory under the ring, and then he ended up coming back out of the ring. He stared down Johnny Gargano. Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano both ended up in the ring in submissions by Kushida and Lumis. So Lumis is definitely going after one of the two of them. Probably Theory first, but I would assume onto Gargano afterwards, which kind of makes me think that Kushida's not going to win this weekend.
Yeah, it was especially because he held the belt up at the end today or yesterday. But I mean, I'd like to see Kushida take that belt in a different direction, and then we could have Johnny versus Dexter without a belt on the line. It doesn't need to have a belt involved,
Yeah, that's fair. I've always said that if you have the right two guys, you don't need the stakes, right? You don't need those titles in place. You can have that title over here, and it means something. Then you can have this other big match too. So maybe that's what we get. Now, the matches I've been kind of working around on the show are the Dusty Cup matches. And we have determined who will be competing in the finals. And, John, I'm going to first start with the women's side. You have called Shotzi and Ember from the very beginning. And each time we have any movement in this tournament, I come back and say, do you want to change your pick? I think you're sticking with them, right?
I am sticking with them, sir. I just think this was all for them. I think they did it. They made this tournament just to give them some sort of consolation prize because they're not involved with EO for a while, and they won't be for a while.
I thought they had a great match though last night with Candice and Indy. We saw a lot out of Candice. And she I think got injured in that War Games match way back, but she's appeared to be like good to go at this point.
Yeah, Indy even looked good. I haven't seen Indy do more than like be a coward in most of her matches recently. So it was nice to see her do some actual work.
Absolutely. Okay, and then on the men's side, you have had grizzled young veterans from the moment the tournament was announced, essentially. Shoes have been off for 2 months now, I think. So now we have MSK, that's MSK, in the finals against GYV. So it's 6 letters in the finals. I don't know, John. You still sticking with grizzled young veterans, or is this MSK team going to make their debut with a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic win?
No, this is as far as MSK comes. I think they've been giving me a run for my money, thinking that GYV might end up losing to them, but it's the writing's been on the wall ever since the beginning of this tournament that GYV was winning, and how it's not AJ Styles, it's MSK. You don't bring them in and just hand them a championship or a Dusty Cup when they're pretty much nobodies to people who are not huge wrestling fans.
Well, let me throw this at you. I think you call them Lorcan and Lurch.
Yeah.
So Oni Lorcan, Danny Burch. Do they make good opponents for grizzled young veterans? I think it'd be a fine match, but it'd be heel on heel action.
It would be, and it wouldn't make much sense right now, but maybe they don't get the match yet. Maybe Borkin and Lurch lose their titles before they get a chance to defend them against GYV. Maybe GYV gets screwed out of their title shot somehow. I don't know. I mean, either way, the match will work.
Yeah,
it'll just be brutal. There won't be much top rope jumping. It will be very mat based and hard hitting, but it will enjoy it, I think.
The British strong style approach, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. Before we close the book on NXT, we do have TakeOver this weekend. 5-match card. All the matches look good. No Adam Cole, no Karrion Kross, no Damian Priest, no Rhea Ripley, and yet I don't think the card suffers one bit. I think it looks really compelling.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on NXT?
No. We covered everything. Yeah.
All right. Let's roll into Dynamite. Okay. So since we're talking tournaments, let's just start right there. Boom. Thunder Rosa got a win over Layla Hirsch. I don't think that's a terrible surprise to anybody that was looking at the brackets, but Thunder Rosa advances on the U.S. side of the bracket. That's the left. On the right-hand side, we have the whole Japanese crowd. All of those matches will take place in Japan, and they're, as my understanding is, they're all going to be streamed on Monday on YouTube. So
couldn't even get on Dark, huh?
They got their own show. So I guess, take your pick. Is it better to be on Dark or to get your own show?
I guess your own special it would actually be better because I don't think Dark really gets too many numbers to begin with.
Yeah, I mean they get really good YouTube numbers, but nothing to shy away at. But yeah, I mean they're not bringing in 850,000 people per week like Dynamite is. So
right.
So we have Thunder Rosa getting her win over Layla Hirsch. Unfortunately, Layla Hirsch is now out of the tournament. Matt Hardy and Adam Page, they signed a contract, but it was a little shifty. Hardy rented out a bar, got Adam Page drunk, They were drinking together, but Hardy was doing the classic trick where he throws his drink out, and Paige takes a shot. So Paige is apparently wasted, and Hardy said, brings out the contract finally and says, "Look, if you sign this, I can make you a millionaire. You got star potential all over you." And Adam Page is like, "Yeah, you know what? That sounds good." Matt Hardy turns to go do something, make a phone call, whatever. And while he's turned, Page throws that contract away, pulls one out of his pocket, signs that one. Hardy signs that one. John, does Adam Page own the Hardy compound now? Like, what do you think happened?
I have no idea. I didn't know that he pulled a switcheroo. I was paying attention to Matt that whole time.
Yeah, and Matt was paying attention to Matt. That's what happened. Yeah, there was a switcheroo. So now it could be that Adam Page represents Private Party. It could be now Adam Page represents Matt Hardy. Maybe Adam's getting 50% of Matt's earnings. Who knows? But a nominal fee of like 30% at least is at stake here. So
yeah, but when you're making millions, what's 30%, right?
Yeah, you're not even gonna miss it. So that happened, and that's to be continued. We also had a match, Pac versus Ryan Nemeth. Now, Nemeth has been on Dynamite like twice now, both losing efforts. He did get a win over Marco Stunt on Dark. So it looks like they're maybe trying to position him as a talent that they're going to run with here in the near future, but he wasn't going to get a win over Pac, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of Dolph in him, but he's not nearly as good as him. So
yeah, I would say the Ziggler is definitely in his blood for sure. So then we had some inner circle drama on the show, which is not new to the show, right? We've had that for weeks now. But Chris Jericho and MJF did get a win over the Acclaimed, although things were looking kind of bleak because Sammy Guevara hit MJF in the gut, which MJF said caused a rib injury or something. Whatever the case may be, Judas Effect got the win. But after the match, Sammy Guevara came out and formally quit the inner circle. And we saw him leaving the arena. He just needs some time. So I don't know if this means it's a face turn. Guevara has been doing promos on Dark pretty regularly and essentially has vowed to have championship gold by the end of the year. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm glad to see that this storyline's finally kind of coming around. So
yeah, me too. Sammy's little promo he cut yesterday should have had a little bit more,
yeah,
sting. Like feeling to it. It just didn't. It was like he was reciting lines or something. I would have liked to see more emphasis from him, and like, I am out of here. Like, I'm screaming at you. Like, this is BS. He just came out like, man, that's it. I quit.
I can't tell if he is going to schism off and be a face or schism off and remain heel. And maybe that's not entirely clear at the moment because the promos he's done on Dark were much better and they were very heelish. But he is kind of a natural babyface with the style that he works and stuff like that. But I think we want to see him in the ring with people like Jungle Boy and Darby Allin and things of that nature. And yeah, and then MJF and Chris Jericho. I think those would all be great matches. Orange Cassidy. So
yeah, him versus Pac.
What'd you say?
Him versus Pac.
Yes, sounds good. I'll take it at the pay-per-view, March 7th. Come on,
yeah,
make it happen. Okay, so moving on, Lee Johnson and Cody Rhodes got a win over Peter Avalon and Cesar Bononi. Nothing about that was surprising. Nothing about that sentence, anyway, was surprising. But Lee Johnson did get the pin over Peter Avalon. It was a roll-up, so not like it was a huge, definitive win. But he got his first win. He went 0-29 or something last year. And now he is an official talent. It was announced on Twitter by Tony Khan that he is now all elite. So congratulations, Lee Johnson. There is like 5 different levels of AEW contracts, and I'm sure Lee had one that was keeping him busy, but now it sounds like he's got the primary contract. So good for him.
Yeah.
So I think maybe now we'll see him accompanied to the ring by Dustin Rhodes and QT or whatever. It was interesting. The promo he cut afterwards was, "Oh, I got to thank the Rhodes family, Dustin and Cody, and even Brandy." QT Marshall stood in the back. I'm pretty sure he's training at QT's gym. No, thank you. And I'm wondering if that's the next program for Lee Johnson, is Lee Johnson versus QT. So we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. You heard it here first if it happens.
Yeah.
So, okay, 2 more matches on Dynamite. Darby Allin versus Joey Janela, 11 minutes, got the win. I think that was what everybody expected, right? Darby was going to get that win over Joey. So,
yeah, all I wrote was Darby wins, I roll.
Well, later in the night, Darby Allin got towed away by Team Taz. Sting had a promo that he was going to do with Tony Schiavone, but AEW has a good habit of bringing Sting down, and before Sting can say anything, Taz comes on the screen and says, "Hey, what you doing?" and he's got Darby Allin. Team Taz has Darby Allin in a body bag hooked up to the back of an SUV, and they just drag him around Daly's place or whatever. So that's what happened to Darby Allin last night.
Yeah, they're playing with fire with that gimmick, dragging somebody behind a truck, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that was Darby's idea. You know how he is.
Just the aesthetics of it, you know, the history of it,
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
So main event was Kenny Omega and Kenta facing off with Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. Lights out. Doesn't count for their records. A lot of promo work leading up to it, with Moxley and Omega. We saw Omega golfing. We saw Moxley in the back saying, "Oh, this is just for fun, this match." But I liked the match a lot. There was some spots that I thought were really cool. I thought Lance Archer did end up taking a one-winged angel and get for the loss, but the Good Brothers had to hold him up. Kenny couldn't get him up there by himself, so the Good Brothers had to get him up there for him. There was a spot where it looked like Lance Archer was going to powerbomb Kenta through the announce table, but Kenta squirmed away, ran off the stage, double stomp on Moxley through a table. That was pretty cool. So I thought it was a really good match, and it was a really good showing for Kenta for the United States audience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a lot of people know who he is unless they were watching NXT. So a little bit of 205, I think he was on also. But this match went real well. I just didn't understand why the ref was only with 2 guys at some point, and they let the other 2 guys off to the side. I should have had 2 referees involved, but that's just nitpicky.
Yeah, and they wrestled back to the backstage area where in the refrigerator space and stuff like that, on the cafe and whatnot. So fun match. All right. That takes care of NXT and Dynamite. If anything else on Dynamite you want to cover, John?
No, but I do have a word of advice for everyone.
Ding, ding. All right.
Now, I was going through some old videotapes that my family member had left behind after he passed away. I won't mention who it was, but my son asked if he could watch the tapes with me, and I'm popping them in. One of them is randomly in the middle of pornography where some guy is wailing away, man, and my son's only 11 years old. So if you're gonna check old VHS tapes, don't do it with any minors around. There's your word of advice for the day.
Oh, man. That is a good one. And I put the pro tips wording on the screen there. And that, based on that story, it's got a kind of a dual meaning. So,
yeah.
Well, we have a bunch of news to get into. And let's go ahead and do that. Today's news is brought to you by the free Body Slam Brigade newsletter. Each week, I compile the week's top wrestling stories. I put them all in a quick-to-read email. It's divided up by company, Nearly 4,000 people are getting this free newsletter each week. In addition to the top stories, the newsletter keeps you up to date on everything we're doing, podcast-wise, merchandise-wise, games, things like that. Comes out every Friday at 11 a.m., except this week it's going to come out at 11:30 today. So, and it is free, so go subscribe right now so you don't miss today's issue. Okay, news, lots of it. Now, we were talking about your son prior to the break here. Your son, as pertains to pornography, of course, and I happen to know that your son's a big John Cena guy. So John Cena was in the news here recently. So he commented on his involvement for WrestleMania this year. He said if it were normal times, he'd 100% find a way to be there, and he wants to contribute in some way. But what it comes down to is he's making the show The Peacemaker in Vancouver. And if he were to fly to the States on Sunday for WrestleMania, he'd have to come back and quarantine for 14 days. It would halt production, cost everybody a bunch of money. It'd be super, super selfish on his part. So he says no John Cena for WrestleMania this year. So
I don't know how much I believe that. They could always film something up in Canada.
Yeah.
So
the
maybe
a Hoser version.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, we haven't had a WrestleMania without John Cena since what? WrestleMania 21, 22.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I mean, there was one year where he didn't even have a match. He was like in the audience and he was hosting.
Right.
But didn't he end up having a match anyway against the Undertaker that year?
Yeah, Undertaker came out, played the hits, and then left. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a squash.
So,
yeah.
It's not WrestleMania without John Cena. It is for me and you, but a lot of the kids will be disappointed if Cena doesn't show up.
Yep. Well, hopefully, like you said, there's something they can definitely pre-tape something or do something to get him on the show. And then on the other side, he also talked about last year. I guess he had made some comments about how WWE would never have a marquee star again. And he walked those comments back. He basically said that he blamed himself for being too close to the product when he made those comments. And he realized that the company is now going through a transition. And it's not a scattered fragment of super friends, which is, I guess, what he referred to it as before. He pointed to Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, and Sasha Banks and said the enormity of their impact is up to the individuals themselves. But he does say, yes, they will have marquee stars. So there you have it. That's my John Cena.
We're never going to have another Austin. Cena wasn't even another Austin. So, I think the closest thing we ever came to another Austin was like Daniel Bryan during the Yes Movement 5-6 years ago when he took over WrestleMania that year. Like, you talk about nobody booing him, everybody cheering him. That was Austin, and that was Daniel Bryan, and I haven't seen it after that.
Yeah, it really comes down to who can bring in new fans, and it's very, very, very difficult to do because, it's one thing to keep the 1.8 million people that are watching Raw every week happy, or get them on their feet, or get them all going one way. It's another thing to get another 1.8 million people watching every Monday, type of thing.
Yeah, I think they thought that Ronda Rousey was going to do that for them, but MMA fans turn their noses up at wrestling. It doesn't matter who goes over there.
That's fine. I turn my nose up at them.
Yeah. Probably more scripted than what we watch anyway.
Yeah. So Al Carl chimed in with the WrestleMania statistics here. No Cena at WrestleMania 35. His first was WrestleMania 20, and he went from 20 to 34 consecutively.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Well, feel free to fact check him, but I don't usually question him. So
yeah, I feel like he fact checked that before he wrote it.
I think so. A bunch of other news stuff. So Pro Wrestling Illustrated and Beyond Wrestling are going to live stream a 60-minute intergender match, Iron Man match, between Tony Deppen and Trish Adora this Sunday at 2 p.m. free on YouTube. Trish Adora was one of the few women ranked in PWI's top 500, and Tony Deppen is from Shamokin, Pennsylvania, wrestles a lot like Drew Gulak, and he's been on Ring of Honor a bunch. So if you're looking for something to do Sunday before Takeover, in between, not doing any Valentine's Day stuff, there is a 1-hour match for free on YouTube that you can watch.
Nice.
News out of New Japan this morning. No new champions. Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi retained the never open 6-man championships, and then they issued a challenge for the tag team championships. So no new champions there, which I predicted there would be, unfortunately. Kota Ibushi retained the double championship with his win over Sonata. After the match, Tetsuya Naito made a challenge for the Intercontinental Championship, and he said he's against Ibushi's idea of unifying those titles. So there you have that. A bunch more news in New Japan and Ring of Honor and MLW that I'm going to get to here. So here's one for you, John. The former NXT Cruiserweight champion Lio Rush has struck gold again. Last night, he captured the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship from Laredo Kid. It was title for title. Leo was defending the MLW World Middleweight Championship. So now he holds the MLW World Middleweight Championship, the AAA Cruiserweight Championship, and for people from Maryland, he is the MCW Rage TV champion. So Mr. Lio Rush is the 25-year-old piece of gold, I think, at this point. So
there you go. Yeah.
So lots and lots of gold. He probably has more weight in belts than he has in person at this point. So, okay, and then on the Ring of Honor side, Roosh will be defending the World Championship against Shane Taylor on February 27th on television. So Ring of Honor television. So you just got to check your local Sinclair broadcast station to find out where you can watch that. And as we have been covering on this show, Ring of Honor's re-signing all their talent. Kenny King signed a new deal with them. So that's that. And now, John, we have our follow-up from one of yesterday's lead stories regarding Tushy and their endorsement offer to Nia Jax. We have WWE edited Nia Jax's My Whole line off of YouTube and Hulu replay on Raw. The line did trend for a long time on Twitter. But Tushy, still checking in on Nia Jax, wants to make sure if she's good. They went to Twitter, Nia Jax, girl, you good? We promise to take care of your whole emoji. So
whenever I hear the My Whole thing, I think of, I don't know if you played the Ninja Turtles video game, Turtles in Time, that was on Super Nintendo and in the arcades. And there was a surfing level. And if you hit the spiked balls that were there, they go, my toes. So every time I hear that, I think of like my hole. And she's part of that video game. It's so funny.
Yeah. We have some COVID news. Danny Limelight revealed a positive test for COVID-19. He is he's on New Japan all the time. He's on Primetime Live out of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and he's also on AEW Dark quite often, including actually an episode of Dynamite recently. So, best wishes to him. Also, in the pandemic world of news, New York State has announced that they will be allowing indoor arenas to reopen at a limited capacity starting on February 23rd. The venues are only going to allow 10% of their capacity. So for a venue like Madison Square Garden, you're looking at about 2,000 people. And everybody that goes has to pass a COVID test 72 hours in advance, within 72 hours. So it's a step. It's good news. Maybe we'll see some shows there, maybe not, but it's a step.
Yeah.
All right. If you're trying, if they announce a MSG show and you live in, I don't know, Florida, and you want to go to New York to watch that show, don't forget that you also need to quarantine in New York State for 10 days prior to leaving your house or wherever you're staying. So, okay, John, it's trivia time. Ready?
No, but let's do it.
All right, here we go. You are going to get 5 questions. A simple majority correct will give you the W. If you win, you get the Goldberg Oscar Award. If you lose, you get a Hawkins. You are no longer in first place. You are, this is not correct. Yeah, it is actually. Travis is 4 for 10. John DeConnie went perfect yesterday, 5 for 10. You are 3 for 5, so you're in good position to get that lead back today. Your topic is the first ever Elimination Chamber match.
That was at Survivor Series 2002, and I was there.
Uh-oh. All right. Let me lead off with this question. It's not the first question on my list, but let's lead off with it. What event hosted the first ever Elimination Chamber match? Was it A, the Royal Rumble, B, WrestleMania, C, SummerSlam, D, Taboo Tuesday, or E, Survivor Series?
Survivor Series 02.
Okay, you start out 1 for 1. Very good. In storyline, who conceived of the Elimination Chamber concept? Was it Teddy Long, Playa, Vince McMahon, Mick Foley, or Eric Bischoff?
Eric Bischoff.
It was 2 for 2. These are maybe all layup questions for you, John.
Hopefully.
We have Vincent. He was chiming in a little bit late. It's hard with the lag, but he also agreed with you on the Survivor Series. So what championship was on the line in the first Elimination Chamber? Was it the WWE Championship, the Universal Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, or the Intercontinental Championship?
It's the World Championship.
World Heavyweight Championship, yes. And who won the first ever Elimination Chamber match? Was it Triple H, Shawn Michaels, RVD, Chris Jericho, Kane, or Booker T?
Shawn Michaels.
It was Shawn Michaels. 4 for 4. Final question. Perfect Plex on the line. It will be the second Perfect Plex this week. You'll be in the company of John DeConi if you get this question right. Who lost the World Heavyweight Championship in that match? Was it A, Triple H, B, Shawn Michaels, C, RVD, D, Chris Jericho, E, Kane, or F, Booker T?
Triple H.
It was Triple H. Oh. And
Perfect.
You are in the lead. And, well, look at that. United States Heavyweight Look at that. Celebrate it early. We're halfway through the month. You are going to be in the lead. At 10 questions, you are in the lead. Any words of wisdom that you want to give to Travis and John DeConi who are trailing you?
Go back in time and attend the events that you're going to get questioned on.
Yeah, that was good for you. Good for you. All right. Well, we have a couple of things to talk about before we get out of here. And the first thing I want to talk about is my new shirt called The Chair Shot. Get out there and get that shirt. Check out the new Chair Shot t-shirt. The Chair Shot is our featured shirt this week at $20. The shirt not only features a steel chair, but it is a steal of a deal. It already comes in the super soft style with no upcharge. All sizes are the same price. No upcharge for sizes above 2X. And you can get it in a bunch of different colors. I actually wrote the bare bones of a story to go with these characters that you can get for free at minutestobelltime.com. The shirts are 3 levels of awesome above that story, I promise. And also, check out the Primetime Rundown. Join Joey, Jarzanka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca on Friday nights for the Primetime Rundown. We take you through the world of sports, and our show kicks off at 6 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. And then, of course, episode 41 of the Essential Wrestling Podcast returns this Tuesday. Al Carl will host. John Smith, myself, John DeConi, and Gary Mahaffey will all be there for another week of updates and highlights in this world of wrestling that we love. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays on the Eastern Observer. Our show, the Daily Wrestling News Show, will return Monday, and we have a special guest planned, so stay tuned for information about that. And with that, John, anything before we get out of here? Did we do all the shows justice, all the news justice? Do we need to talk about any other topics in the world of Tushy that we need to cover? Anything going on?
I can't hear you again. Unfortunately, I can't hear you right now for some reason again, Ryan, so I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody now because I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that again.
All right, John Smith is out of here. We will play the outro music, and we'll catch you guys all on Monday.